It's the most wonderful time of the month. It's bingo time! Hello kittens and welcome back to Cat Talks. For those of you who are new here, bingo is how I pick my TBR every month. Every number has a prompt associated with it, so the first number on a ball, the 10s, has a prompt, and then the 1s has a prompt as well. You can check those out down below in the bingo spreadsheet. And this is my favourite video of the year to make because it means not only do I get to bury myself in my TBR, remember books that I wanted to read before, think about books that I've never discovered before that suddenly I have this burning urge to read, but it also means that I get to play a game with you guys and we get to find out together what I will be trying to achieve in the month of October. Oh yes, and we roll, if we get a double we roll again, and if we get a 9 we roll again for the colour, and we still have to do that prompt. So in the month of August, I failed to read, I really should have prepared in advance. In the month of August, I rolled 10 bingo balls and I failed to read 3 of them, which means that £6 has been added to our baseline of £10 for the month, which means that if you get bingo this month, you could win £16. Now, I haven't gone for any special Halloween plans. I'm not reading any horror books in particular, and this is mainly because Brexit is in October, and I think that's horrifying enough for all of us. The first ball is 18. 18 is a middle or YA contemporary or literary. So lots of genres to choose from there. And I knew immediately when I got this ball which book I was going to read. And that is Jack of Hearts and Other Parts by Elsie Rosen. This is the story of a young man in school. He's come out as gay and is kind of hosting an advice column online to help people with their sexual questions. He's got a bit of a reputation as a player, but it's mostly gossip. But someone is leaving really creepy love notes in his locker and demanding that he stop doing the column and tell people that he's straight now, I think. So this is about the stalking and how he resolves it. And I'm really excited about this. I heard some really good things and I can't wait to dive in. So I'm so excited for October to begin. So 40 is a fantasy series. Normally I try and finish series that I've already started, but sometimes I'll start a new one. And I was considering starting Airhead by Meg Cabot. Is it Cabot or Cabot? This is the author of The Princess Diaries and the Mediator series, both of which I really enjoyed as a kid, so I was very curious to read this when I picked it up in the library sale. It is about a geek who body swaps with a model and has to learn kind of like not only how to take better care of herself, but also, you know, how life is different when you're not perceived as intelligent. At least I'm hoping it's that, because I actually trust Meg Cabot to do a body swapping story that isn't just, you know, brains versus brawn, or brains versus beauty. That's the one, brains versus beauty. So I am really intrigued to pick this up. I've got all 3 on my shelves, but instead of doing, I also considered getting Ruin and Rising, which is the 3rd book in the Grishaverse trilogy by Leigh Bardugo. Obviously I read the first one and the second one earlier this year. So in the end I decided to finish off the trilogy from Melissa Caruso, which the 3rd book is called The Defiant Heir. Now the first book is called The Unbound Mage. Nope. I'm going to put the first book here because I have forgotten what it's called somehow. I think it's called Anyway, the 3rd book is called The Unbound Empire, and I have this one on Kindle. It's the first book is about a kind of an heiress to a very powerful family in their land who accidentally gets a pet mage by enslaving a mage that she finds on the street, and sort of like the consequences of that decision and also some plots and scheming. It's a very political book. It's a very high fantasy. I love it so much. It's all about, is it right to do this to the slaves? When is it not right? You know, what are the other options to do this to the mages? And it's like anyone, whether you're rich or poor, can be born marked as a mage. So you get it's very obvious. You get a ring in your eyes and then you are taken away, and it's not called enslavement, but it's kind of enslavement. You are kept as a falcon in the Emperor's falconry. So yeah, this series is great. If you haven't read it, I definitely recommend checking it out. And I know that Melissa Caruso has another series based in the same world, but like 200 years later on the go. She talks about a lot on Twitter. So I'm excited to be able to finally finish off the first trilogy. Alright, so 9 is a science fiction book, but I need to roll again to get the colour. And of course it is another 9. So we're going to put that number aside for now, and we're just going to deal with the first 9. So 9 is a science fiction, and the colour that we picked from the 49 was grey. So I need to read a science fiction book with grey in the cover. So I had 2 choices for this. Both are parts of trilogies that I'm currently reading. See, so I'm mopping up. We have The Dark Forest by Cixin Liu. The first book is The Three-Body Problem. This is a book translated from the Chinese. It's been very famous in China for a very long time, and it's, I don't think recently been translated to English, but quite recently, like within the last 20 years. The first book is about the suicides of lots of prominent scientists, and also a video game is involved. They've all been playing this video game. There's an elite collection of scientists that aren't committing suicide but are doing some very shady things, and the police have asked a certain scientist to investigate. Now, Cixin Liu's world building is incredible. His like manipulation of events, his storytelling, like you just want to know what's happening. His characterization is less so, but I am still intrigued to find out what happens in the second book. So much so that I haven't read the blurb, because the last time I read a Cixin Liu blurb, it spoiled the entire book for me and I was raging mad. But anyway. And the other contender for this one is the third book in the Illuminate file series, Obsidio. This is obviously a lot more grey. This one is, the first book, Illuminate, is about 2 teenagers who break up the same day that their planet is attacked by a rival corporation, and they escape on some spaceships, and there's something like wrong with the spaceships that came to rescue them, and that's all I'm going to tell you. The books are told in mixed media. So there will be images, there will be blacked out words, there will be memos, there will be emails, there'll be log files, there'll be photographs and poetry. I definitely recommend checking it out if you haven't already. It's very YA science fiction. There's a lot of very unexpected twists and turns, but I wouldn't say there's any reflection on our society as a whole, usually. But I have no idea what this one is about. I'm going in blind, as I went in blind to the second book. The second book wasn't that great, but I've heard this one's really good. So I'm going to be picking Obsidio to answer this prompt, and taking the Dark Forest back to the library to the next person who has borrowed it. I'm so scared they're gonna fall. Please don't fall. Alright, so 49 was a non-fiction book, and so we need to roll again to get our colour. And we got a 12, which is yellow or orange, so I need to find a yellow or orange non-fiction book to answer this prompt. So I had a couple of opportunities here. In particular, there is The Last Lecture, which is a book a dying cancer patient wrote about achieving your life goals and how to do it. I also have C.S. Lewis's Mere Christianity, which doesn't look very orange from this angle, but has a very orange spine and back. It's been a while since I have read this one, and I'm curious to see if my views have changed. This is the book that made me into a Christian, and while recently I haven't been attending church or particularly identifying with being a Christian, I do really like reading C.S. Lewis's arguments and style of writing, and I'm curious to see how I would feel going back to it now. And finally, I found this on the library shelves today. This is A Tribe of Mentors, short life advice from lots of people that Tim Ferriss has interviewed for his podcast. He's changed his name to Timothy Ferriss on this one, which is probably just to make this a bit more even. But this is a book about just life advice from lots of people who are doing well in their lives, who are succeeding, whether that's creatively, or you know, they are the top sprinters or athletes, or they are doing well in business. And there's lots of different people and lots of different definitions of success, which is something that I always appreciate with Tim Ferriss's writing. It's not always about earning the most money, but it is about becoming the most well-rounded person. And so I have decided to go with Tribe of Mentors for this one, just because I've been wanting to read this for a while. I think I have it on Kindle as well. But it's not really the type of book that you can read end to end, and it is quite long. So I'm going to try and intersperse parts of it, like maybe read a person a day or something like that. I'm not sure how many there are, but yes, this is my pick for yellow or orange. I mean, it's gold, but we're going to pretend it's yellow. Yellow or orange non-fiction book. Speaking of the library, as you guys know, I live in Sweden, and The library, I used to love going to the library in the UK because it's just kind of like my thing, right? I like to browse books and come back with too many and read them and take them back. And I love the fact that it's free and it's essentially open source, like anyone can suggest books for them to buy. I love that about it, and that's the same here. But the problem here is that a lot of the books are in Swedish and they don't separate them. So all of the books on business will be in one shelf, and it will be a mixture of Swedish books and English books. And so you need to like process as you're browsing, you need to think, is this Swedish, is this English, can I read this? And some of the worst ones are they keep the English titles but have Swedish inside, or they will have two English words joined with ok. So you really have to be on your guard, and it is exhausting. But anyway, short rant aside, this is my pick. At least this one won't fall on my head, I suppose. And then obviously to get the yellow and orange we had to roll a 12, which was an adult, contemporary or literary. I've got two picks for this. I've got Vigilante, which is about a mum who accidentally kind of stops an armed robbery and then becomes a vigilante in her city, dressing up as a hero, but obviously she doesn't have any powers, so it's kind of a humorous look on aging and not being special. This is also an ex-library book, by the way. We also have The Secret History by Donna Tartt. This one is about a group of university students who sort of form their own personality cult around one of their lecturers, and I think someone dies. That's all I know about this one as well. I have heard some quite negative things about this one, like it's quite coincidence-led and ex machina, but I'm still interested to read it. It is lauded as one of the new classics, so I'm interested to see what goes in on it, so I'm gonna pick this one. Alrighty, time for another roll. Let's roll! 65 is a standalone classic or historical, and I decided to go for one that I bought a while ago, which was Lady Chatterley's Lover by D.H. Lawrence. Obviously this is about a posh woman and her exciting romance with a lower class man. I think he's her gardener, but I have no idea, honestly. I haven't read this before. I'm very intrigued, and I picked it up in a used bookstore for like 20 krona, so should be good. It's about gender politics, it's about sexuality, it seems very interesting, and it should be a fairly short read, I think, so. All right, next ball, please. Okay, so 44 is an A to Z title pick non-fiction, so another non-fiction, that's two. As you know, non-fiction is maybe not my strong suit. I don't read very quickly in non-fiction, but hopefully it's only two, so it'll be fine. So let's roll for the first letter. And that's a T. So I've got two choices here. I've got the effective executive. This is a book written about how to make sure that you are getting things done in an effective way and you're not wasting your time necessarily with things that aren't as important. It's got a big focus on not managing others but managing yourself and being a good example to follow. I'm not a manager, I'm very much a single contributor, but I am a self-manager because I am a consultant and I work essentially as my own person. So I think this will be full of good advice for me. And the second one is Till the Cows Come Home by Sarah Cox, who is apparently a radio personality in the UK. My dad bought this as a book for us to read together and kind of like buddy read over the month. Unfortunately, he seems to have been led astray and into a different book, and his interest in this one has waned a little bit, so I'm going to put this one aside for now and focus on the effective executive so I can give it back to my manager. Oh no! Another 40 number, this is 46, which is a NetGalley non-fiction pick. Now, I've had some troubles with NetGalley in the recent past archiving books before I've read them, so I'm not going to pick yet, I'm going to pick when I get there, but you will know that I have to read it. Ooh, 50 is a series of non-fiction. Now these can be a little bit tricky to find because not many people write their non-fiction in series. They write individual books on the same topic, but not necessarily as a series. So I had a couple of options. The first one was going to be The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which is another self-management book, and since I have just picked the effective executive, I didn't want two books with the same word in the title, let alone on the same topic. And then I thought maybe In the Search of Schrodinger's Cat, because there is another book written by John Gribben called In Search of Schrodinger's Kittens, which is clearly the second book in the series. I have been trying to read this book since before I went to uni, so since I was 17, 18. I mean, I even annotated back then because I was using it to study for university interviews, and it's got a post-it note which I used as a bookmark at one point, and I have never made it past the 3rd chapter. This is a book about physics. It's a book about Schrodinger's cat, which is the cat that is both alive and dead until you look, and it's essentially because light particles are both particles and waves until you look, and then they choose one, depending on what you are looking for. But I'm not going to read this one. I'm actually going to finish reading The Hidden Life of Trees. Did I get that title right? Yes, I did, by Peter Wollhaben. This is a book written by an arborist over in Germany, and it is about how trees communicate, how they prepare for winter. I did read a bit of this over the summer, so it is a little bit cheating, but I really want to finish it, and I can't think of a better excuse to do it. This is the first book in the Hidden Life of Nature, I think, series, so after trees they will be moving on to something else. But it is told in a very engaging, kind of non-scientific way. So if you're interested in learning a bit more about trees, but you don't have a background as a biologist, then I recommend checking it out. Okay, and then we got another non-fiction. 42 is an adult non-fiction. A lot of our non-fiction is adult, so I didn't really have any trouble finding books that match this. Obviously, I could have used The Effective Executive for this one. I could have used The Hidden Life of Trees. I don't even remember what it's called. It's been like 3 seconds. But instead, I chose another 3. The first one is another physics book. So this is Smashing Physics by John Butterworth. This is a look into the experiments over in CERN and talks about the discovery of the Higgs boson from one of the lead scientists and lead press scientists, I guess. John Butterworth was actually part of UCL when I was there. I think he was the head of the physics department. So I have a very close and personal tie to John Butterworth, but I didn't pick this one. Then I considered reading a prehistory of the cloud, which goes into the underlying technologies that went into our decision to use cloud computing instead of using individual computers, and why that's good and maybe why that's bad, and kind of like uses this to discuss the social implications of the cloud. It's quite a heavy read from what I kind of flicked through. It was very theoretical, very much like a PhD dissertation, but I still really want to read it. I just won't necessarily promise that I will finish it in the month of October. But on the same theme, I managed to find in the library Bruce Schneider's Click Here to Kill Everybody. Now, Bruce Schneider has a security blog, which is really good. It's all about security in automobiles, it's about security in personal web development, in personal computer use and using your mobile phone, how your smart home can be hacked. And so I was really interested to read this, to find this, especially since I have recently been deep diving into cybersecurity as a personal research topic. So I am just really excited to read this. We only have 3 balls left, and you guys are so close to getting bingo. Like, I'm so scared for my wallet right now. Good luck. Alright, so 25 is a standalone mixed media. Now, if you have been here before, you know that mixed media can mean manga and graphic novels, but it can also mean novels written in Swedish, because I am trying to learn Swedish, and it's a good way to force myself to do so. And 25 is a standalone. So I had 2 options that jumped out to me on the shelves. I had Nattens Mörker. This is a kind of collection of short stories in the horror genre and might be good for Halloween. And I also have the much longer Illuminate, which is another, they're both ex-library books. This one is also an easy reader. It's a collection of short stories, of poetries, and there are also photos in here. There's a photo of a pair of boobies in here too, because Swedish people don't care that much about nudity. And I think I'm going to be reading this one, even though it is much longer than Nattens Mörker. Or am I? Do you know what? I think I will read Nattens Mörker, because it's a lot smaller and shorter, and because it seems to be kind of a horror twist, 2 short stories in kind of like a horror vein, and it's Halloween, so why not? Why not embrace the Halloween? So that was an abrupt change. Oh, I'm running out of space. Alright, so that was our 8th roll, so we only have 2 more rolls left, so let's see what the next ball is. And that is 57, so yay! Not a non-fiction. This is a new release thriller or mystery, so that's something that has been released in the last 2 years, and I am going to go for Heartstream by Tom Pollock. This is kind of has been advertised as kind of a Black Mirror-esque world where you are able to share your emotions and feelings with fans, but they don't know what you're experiencing, they just feel your emotions. And the main character has just started dating a famous person and can't tell anyone around her because most of her friends are fans of this famous person and not necessarily in a good way, more of stans than fans. And I believe that something horrible happens. You are on your last ball, guys. If you get one of these bingo numbers, you win. I lose. Good luck. And finally we have 30. Now if you remember from 40 and 50, having a 0 on is a series. And this is a series mixed media, so I'm going to go for Room 213, which is another Swedish YA novel. This is another horror novel actually, so I am going for some horror this month, yay! And this is about a room, I think in a school, where bad things happen. It's a ghost or horror story, and I'm interested to see what it's actually about. Because the library has like 500 copies of this book. But yeah, they go to this room, they see a ghost, they think it's a dream, but two of them have the same vision. So they know it's not a dream and that there really is a ghost in room 213, and it's about them, you know, trying to fix it. You were just one number off getting 10 as well, because you got 9. So I'm really sorry that you didn't get bingo yet again. It seems very hard to get bingo in this day and age, but the pot does roll on, so next month it will also be £16, although I might lessen it a bit depending on, anyway. Next month, even if I read every book that I need to in the month of September, the pot will still be set at £16, so yay! For you guys, not for me. And yeah, I hope you guys had fun here in bingo. I hope you guys will check out another video of mine down here. This one was chosen by YouTube, so let's hope it's a good video. And I will see you guys next time.